Hello folks, well are you rested up? Good, because it's time for me to ask you, what are you doing? I am your host, Chad Stanton, and on this show, this is all about what you and you're making in your shop. It's a place to encourage each other, inspire one another, and to be creative. So let's get into it. The first entry today is from Daryl Metheny. Now, Daryl has a grandson in another state, and I'm not sure how far away they are, but evidently Daryl wants to encourage his grandson to do some woodworking. So what he's doing, he's making this tool tote for his grandson. I am imagining that, you can see in the photo here, it's got the clamps on it. I'm assuming that he's getting it all set for him so that the pieces will be right, and then his grandson can glue and nail it together, which I thought was a great idea. Daryl even is giving a hammer there to his grandson. You can see it. That's James's hammer. And I thought this was a really neat way to encourage young people to get into woodworking, even if they're far from you. So, fantastic idea there, Daryl. If you could, get a picture of your grandson with his tool tote after he gets it all put together. We'll put him on the show. Okay, speaking of tools, Daniel Mullins. Daniel made this marking knife, and he made it out of a file, and then he did etching with salt water and a 12-volt DC converter plug. I wasn't familiar with it, actually. I don't do any kind of like blacksmithing or anything like that. So when he said salt water and DC, I did a quick Google search, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You put some salt water and a 12-volt direct current charger into it, and you can do etching on it. So I learned something new. You viewers are encouraging and inspiring me, so I thought that was pretty neat. So thanks for showing that, Daniel, and I know you will probably using that marking knife a lot in your woodworking. Okay, Paul Bylin. Paul has been on the show many times, and Paul, he's got a couple projects this week. The one project was the maple and Paduke bowl that he turned. I know Paul does quite a bit of turning, and that seems to be his area of expertise. But he also tried something new. He said he's trying to teach himself how to make the shaker oval boxes, which, if you're not familiar with the Shakers were a religious group, but their philosophy was everything had to be in its proper place, and so boxes were a big thing with them so that they could store and be organized, something that I need to take a lesson from in my shop here. But at any rate, I've never made a shaker oval box, and I'm curious actually to do one. I've wanted to do one for quite a while, so Paul, I'm going to be probably emailing you for some tips. Matthew Potter. Matthew made a farmhouse table. Now, these are pretty popular right now, but I liked the reason behind this on it. So Matt said that his daughter has some, how do you say it, pretty active little boys there. And if pretty active means what I think it means, rowdy. That's what my mom would call us. And so Matt wanted to make a farmhouse table that not only would be around for a long time, but had to be really rugged for those little ones. And so he said doing this, he did some things for the first time that he's never done before. He did mortises and tenons and did the breadboards on the end. And I think he said he made it out of, oh shoot, I didn't write it down. It was kind of a unique wood. But at any rate, he learned a lot in this process, and I think it looks fantastic. I was curious, Matt, if you did the design on it, or if you had a design or plans from someone else, or if you just kind of, like most of us do, you take certain areas and kind of combine it and make it your own. But whatever you did it looks really cool. I love that table. And here's a photo of Matthew with his daughter and kids all there sitting at the table. So nice photo. Thank you for that. Charlie Hinton. Now, Charlie, for the last couple of weeks, he's been working on a box. He's been making it out of some mesquite wood. And he said that the wood, if I remember right, last week when he was resawing it, had some internal tension to it, and so it got a little squirrely on him. Looks like he's pretty much got it under control, because here's a little bit more progress on the box. But Charlie is doing on this show for us a little episode of Should You Own It? It seems that he bought a dust collection system, and it was Laguna's, the P-Flux 2, is that how it's pronounced? Anyhow, he said that the directions that came with it were so crappy. Fortunately, a bunch of YouTubers out there have done videos on this, and he was able to pull up another YouTube video and watch the proper order how to assemble the thing. So yeah, that frustration can happen to all of us. But there you go. This week's episode of Should You Own It from Charlie Hinton. Tom Bertino. Tom has a small project this week. Tom made a mallet for his son, and the mallet is made out of maple and hickory. Now, I'm not sure how old Tom's son was. He didn't say, but any chance we can get to get the youth involved in woodworking, I think it's a wonderful thing. If I'm not mistaken, I think Tom volunteers a lot of his time at a high school there and helps him build the stage props for it. And again, another opportunity to get involved, whether it's with your kids or the neighbor's kids or even some kind of community where you can get involved and encourage young kids to get into this wonderful craft of woodworking. It will always, always pay off big time. So nice job, Tom. Danny Wilsher. Danny made this box, and he said that he got all this wood, scrap, from back when he said he was helping with Hurricane Katrina. He was helping doing some rebuild, I think for a family member, and this was the material left over with it. And instead of wasting it or burning it, he made this box, and I liked the look of the box. It was his design, and he said he was real proud of how everything fit together and went just right. But very cool on two levels, because you're making the most of waste material, and you did a design project of your own. So nice job on that, Danny. Peter Compton. Peter is down there in Australia, and Peter made this stool. I think it's a shop stool for him. Now, he said he got the inspiration from Rob's workshop or Rob's wood shop. He's been on the show before, but Rob evidently did a stool similar to this, and so Peter, by watching that, said, yes, I need one too. And you can see that the stool is perfect for taking a break in the shop, but also those steps fold out so you can reach a few things up higher on the shelf there. So very neat, very cool. A shop stool is something that I need out here pretty soon myself. But either way, thanks for sending that in, Peter. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Bill Crispin. Bill has been busy making desks for his family. He made one for his daughter. He's working on one for his wife. And this is the progress with his desk so far, which is the part that I love. I love seeing the pictures in progress with what you all are doing out there. And you can see it looks like it has a lot of Morrison tenons going on this. And if you look real careful there in the photo, you can see his pencil sketch of what he wants it to look like. And you don't have to be an expert on the CAD system or use SketchUp or anything like that. I actually start with a pencil sketch. I build from there, and then usually if I have to do plans, that's when I do the SketchUp model design. So I'm like you, Bill. I work with pencil and paper. So nice job, and keep sending in those photos. I'm curious to see the progress on it. Brad Soulchin. Brad, for a while, has been working on a bookcase, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's for a customer, and it's a big bookcase. So here's a photo, a before photo of the one wall. Here's the after photo of the bookcase going in, and then at the end of the email, it said that's just one of 2 sets of bookcases that's being built for this customer. And I mean, that's a lot of shelf space. I'm kind of curious what the customer's using it for. None of my business, especially when they're paying, but just curious. Anyhow, thanks for sending in, Brad. Curious to see it all done, and hopefully it's going smooth for you, because installations, just my little tip to any one of you out there, I always charge separate for installation. They get one price for the furniture piece, and then I charge another price for the installation. I don't make it a combined thing. So hopefully you're making a little money off of that there too, Brad. Okay, Frank Howard. So Frank sent in this photo, and you can see he's got his mallet and chisel there, and he's making a humidor box, I think he said for his father-in-law, and he's trying to chisel that out to put a nameplate in there, a brass nameplate. And he said it's giving him a little bit of trouble. So I suggested to him that, especially for something small like that, I like to use a router hand plane. And I know this is usually where we get into on Wednesday, the email questions. I'm just throwing this out there because we have the photo. You can see it for Frank. You can pick these up online. They got new versions of them, which are pretty expensive. Usually you can get these somewhere between $30 and $50, and they're great for something small just like that, where you don't want to set up a whole router and go through that. You can just hog it out real quick with one of these. And if you're curious, I'm sure most of the viewers know, a little while ago I did a video where you can make your own router plane out of scrap wood, an Allen wrench, and I picked up these handles from Woodcraft. I mean, there's probably a couple of bucks in this whole thing. So, fun little project to make, and a worthwhile tool to have. I'll put that link in the bottom to the video if anyone's interested. Mr. Mo. Mr. Mo was feeling a little sick, having a little bit of health issues, so we wish you, Mr. Mo, to get better. But he wanted to send something in. He sent in this bowl that he made back in shop class back in 1967. Yes, Mr. Mo still has it. I think he gave it to his mother, and he got it back from her after she passed away. And he said that the wood, he doesn't remember what the wood was, but his shop teacher said that you can't get the wood anymore. It was from Africa. It's illegal. And he said back in 1967, it cost $40 for that wood. So, yeah, that was pretty pricey back then. So, but he forgot what that wood name was. I'm kind of curious myself now. But thanks for sending in the photo, and get well, Mr. Mo. Okay, and the last entry is from Jose Cepeda. And Jose made a doghouse, and it's cool because it kind of looks like a log cabin. He said he made it out of pallet wood, and it looks like some 4x4s or maybe some timber wood there. And the unique thing about the doghouse is the roof comes off. Yeah, so it makes it a lot easier when he has to get in there and clean up and stuff. He's not having to try and go through the little door or that little window, just easy access on it. So very clever, very cool. And that's it for this week. Kind of, it seems like a short episode today. I want to thank everyone who sent the photos in. I will have a show on Wednesday, an episode of After Hours Woodworking. but there may not be a show Friday, and definitely there won't be a show the following Monday. I'm actually going to be in Huntington, West Virginia for the Heritage Farms and Museum Woodworking Festival. It's going to be really neat. It's like a little village set up doing crafts and woodworking and blacksmithing and all kinds of things from like 100 years ago. You'll be able to see old tools, and there's going to be all kinds of different demonstrations going on. I myself am doing 2 demonstrations on Saturday. I think the first one is at 10:30 and then the other one is at 1. So at any rate, if you're in the area, come on out. We'd love to see you guys, meet everyone, hang out and talk. So yeah, so no show next Wednesday. But as always, thank you for watching. If you want to send some photos in, or if you have a woodworking question, feel free to email me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com. And as always, keep on dancing.